I have a feeling this was written by the same person who wrote the previous book, as there is a fair amount of continuity between the two books surrounding Brenda Carlton and Ned. Just like last book, he works for an insurance company, and whenever he punches somebody, he aims for the jaw.
Argo Funk Book Review, Argo Funk Book Review.
Annoying reporter Brenda Carlton brags she has an amazing new advice column. When Nancy and her friends aren't impressed, Brenda says she just got a letter from someone who's about to be murdered. She refuses to give any more details, though. Unsurprisingly, Brenda's advice column is terrible. For example, she tells one reader that her boyfriend is ignoring her because she's boring. So her advice is to stop being boring. Brenda's a jerk. Brenda gets into a minor car accident. A Mrs. Maggie Keating's brakes fail. She hits Brenda's car. Brenda throws a fit, and Nancy's distracted by a mystery man in the crowd. The next day, Brenda's column has a letter from a terrified woman. She thinks her husband is trying to kill her thanks to a series of dangerous accidents. Brenda's advice is to do absolutely nothing about her murderous husband. Terrible advice, Brenda. Brenda tries bragging to Nancy again, and she's almost hit by a falling beam. Brenda makes a huge fuss, mostly because it's good for publicity. This time, Nancy sees a blonde guy in the crowd. He tries following Brenda, then runs away. When he tries following Brenda again, Nancy confronts him. He is Rick Watterson, nephew of Maggie Keating. He's pretty sure she's the woman whose husband is trying to kill her. He wants Brenda's help, but he's too afraid to ask because Brenda's so cute. Brenda and Rick form an instant love connection, which makes Nancy think this is all a setup. Brenda's probably making things up like usual, only this time she got her boyfriend to help. I don't know, I'm not sure. I think it's totally in character for Brenda Carlton to turn a murder situation into an excuse to date a hot new guy. Nancy sees the mystery man prowling at the Keating house, and she has a minor run-in with Mr. Bill Keating. He's fond of violence and has a reputation for risky business ventures. 6 months ago, he bought million-dollar life insurance for his wife. He could be plotting to kill her for the money. Rick confirms the Keatings desperately need money. Nancy questions Brenda about Mrs. Keating's letter until Brenda cracks. She confesses there is no letter. She made up the entire thing. Yes, Brenda just happened to make up a story about a murder plot shortly before she met someone involved in the exact same murder plot in real life. What a crazy coincidence. Now, if I was Nancy, I would get mad at Brenda and leave, but this is the halfway point of the book. It's too late for her to give up now. Brenda gets into a car crash when the culprit sabotages her car. Nancy warns Brenda that the safest thing for her to do is to stay at home all day. Fat chance of that happening. Nancy goes to the car repair place where she meets Mystery Man. He's Chris Trout, another relative of the Keatings. He's also in desperate need of money, and he's snooping around because he thinks a murder plot is in the works. He checked out Mrs. Keating's brakes. They were definitely sabotaged. The culprit calls Brenda and says he wants to meet her on an isolated bridge at night. It's an obvious trap. Our hero set up a counter trap to capture the culprit, but Brenda screws it all up. Instead of staying at home, like she was supposed to, Brenda shows up without warning and takes a picture with a big camera flash. This temporarily blinds Ned, which lets the culprit get away. Also, Nancy almost dies when the culprit pushes her off the bridge. Thanks a lot, Brenda. Nancy learns that Mr. Keating has been studying microbursts, or small tornadoes. Nancy realizes he's going to kill his wife and pass off her death as a tornado accident. Nancy goes to warn Mrs. Keating, but it turns out Nancy is only half right. The Keatings are actually working together to fake Mrs. Keating's death and collect the insurance money. They attacked Brenda repeatedly because they didn't want her to expose their scheme. Mr. Keating knocks Nancy out, then traps her in the house. She wakes up moments before the house is going to explode. She can't think clearly because the room is filled with ether. Nancy breaks the window open with a chair, crawls down a sloped roof, and jumps 8 feet to the ground. I should mention, Nancy does all of this while dragging Chris's unconscious body behind her. Nancy is basically a superhero. Things look dangerous when Mr. Keating discovers Nancy survived. Luckily, her friends arrive in time to save her. Brenda gloats that she solved the case, but she backtracks when she sees Rick's feelings are hurt. That's nice of her. Nancy hopes that someday Brenda will learn to care about other people's feelings all the time. It's not going to happen, but we can dream. The end. Post-book follow-up. The start of this book is a little weak. It's a lot of Nancy and her friends arguing with Brenda, as well as Bess and George getting some dates for an upcoming concert. I thought it was fun and interesting, getting a chance to see what our heroes act like in their spare time. It just had nothing to do with the mystery. I'm not sure how to fix the problem, since Brenda made up the entire story. There technically is no mystery for a good chunk of the book. The final third of the book is excellent, and I loved it. That doesn't completely compensate for the weak opening third, but it kind of compensates. I was totally hooked for the last part of the book. I'll give the book credit for that. I also like how this book is a hometown mystery that makes the most out of the supporting cast, especially Brenda Carlton. I give Nancy Drew Files number 60, Poison Pen, a 7 out of 10.